So I remember telling them, please get this thing out of me now. It's day 4. Please have me get a CS. Please do anything. So finally, I took myself to the labor ward. Let me just go. The last time I went to the mortuary to tell my son goodbye, and I found a very evil mortuary attendant who literally dismantled my son's head. And I saw him, and that was the last picture I'll ever have of my son with a dismantled head. And this guy really insulting me over what I am seeing, he's also insulting me. My name is Vicky Mugambi. I am a commercial model. I even teach people how to do commercial modeling on YouTube. That is Vicky Mugambi on all social media platforms. And I am an actress with Real House Girls of Kawangware and Salem, and a bunch of other shows that you'll find on Showmax and or your local TV stations. I've also had a son. He came. As soon as he came, he left. But even throughout that pregnancy journey, I would experience trauma and rejection and experiences that I had been with this man for 4 years, and for 4 years he married 2 other ladies without my knowledge. So basically, there was something about me that people always felt that they needed to pick on. I don't know whether it was, it didn't matter from my body to my confidence, to how I speak, to how I stood out in various ways. My free spirit has found itself or has put me in places where it makes other spirits, other people's spirits uncomfortable and uneasy around me. But this is my story. I hope it inspires you and you learn something or two.
Take a moment and check out www.psychex.io. With Psychex, you can connect with licensed therapists specialized in various areas such as anxiety, depression, relationships, and more. Psychex also offers comprehensive wellness programs tailored to boost employee morale, productivity, and mental resilience. So why wait? Take the first step towards unlocking your true potential today. Visit psychex.io and start your journey to mental greatness.
While doing campaigns last year, I found out that I was pregnant. And it was a mixed emotions situation. Yani me, be a mom. I have been alone for so long until people ask, hey, kwani si upate mtoto? It began to become an object of scorn, not having a kid. But finally, okay, yeah, I'm going to be a mom. And it was a bit confusing. So I said, okay, sawa, it's here, I've accepted it. Chatusonge. Baby daddy was acting weird. I didn't know why at the time, because how could you be so nice and then not nice at the time? So I just decided to forget about him. He would support where he could. Sometimes he would be there, sometimes he wouldn't be there. So I carried my entire pregnancy on my own throughout. The journey of pregnancy, you know, you're told once it reaches 3 months and it's and you're still on, you know, you're good, you're free of miscarriage. Once it gets 6 months, you're free and you're ready to go. Like even the baby can come anytime now. After 6 months, you can deliver and still be able to raise that kid, yeah? So I would count those months in my head, you know, the countdown, those months in my head. And once we got to week 33, gestational 33, the other one, this gestational, and then there's another count, which is 36. I knew, even my baby can come today, and I'll be cool. And I was very easy with it. And that was 8 months, 4 weeks to delivery. Every time I would go to Harefetch for clinic, there's nothing much we would do. They would just do the usual things, but they wouldn't do anything extra unless they ask me, unataka scan? So I would do a scan every now and then whenever I want to. So this time when they told me unataka scan, I was just like, hey, ni watu kwani ni pesa tu ya scan mnataka? They never did anything, you know. I would even ask them, can you to do any extra test to tell me whether the baby is okay? But they would just do the normal ones to determine the baby is okay. The normal test. They wouldn't actually go an extra mile. So like day one, I go to the clinic. I check, everything is okay, but the doctor said, we need to check your urine again. Please come back tomorrow. We need to determine what this is. There's some traces we're seeing in your urine. We need to determine what this is. Please come tomorrow. But before she released me, this lady, remember, it's almost the other mwaka inaenda kuvuka. So it's during holiday time, so most people are not in the office. But before she released me, I remember seeing this young doctor or nurse, I don't know whether she was a doctor or a nurse, struggling to find answers. She was going upstairs, downstairs. She was listening to my belly, going upstairs, downstairs. And then she said, come back tomorrow. So tomorrow when I went for the scan, of course. And this doctor from the scan, normally they don't even talk to you. Okay, at the RFH that I was going to, normally they don't even talk to you. Hey, this one was nice. I found a really good one. He was nice and he was giving me stories. Normally a scan would take like 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. This one said 30 minutes. Na ananipigisha story. Na mimi na vile napenda kuongea, ananipigisha story. But then those results took time. Like I remember waiting. Nona daktari anaenda nachukua nini, but I wasn't told. So I later learned there's something called IUFD, which means the baby is dead. And so like I said, shock does not happen like, you know, when you're shocked and you react and you start screaming. So I remember, because I had waited for these results for so long, I knew something was wrong and they were not telling me. And there was a family member who had died from another patient. So they were crying. Those ones were crying. They were doing the most, you know. And me, I'm here. And when the doctor took the results, she looked at it, and then now she put it down, and then she looked at me like this. I knew what she was about to say, and she said it, and I looked at her and said, okay, so now, what next? You know, it looked as if I was okay with it. Eh? So, and the previous night I had told baby daddy, I feel something is wrong. The previous night, something is wrong. I need to go to hospital now. He's like, you don't worry. It's gonna be okay. So I called my mom. My mom came. My mom hated the hospital there and then. Said, let's go find another hospital now. My mom came with another friend who said, hey, me mtoto wangu, I was told the same thing. I went to Wapi and I was done an emergency CS, and my son came out and he was faint, yes, akapigo kidogo akaamka akaanza kulia, and then so we had some hope. So when we were headed to get another hospital, somehow the confusion of many voices, and then remember my mom I'm the last born. So mamangu hajapata mtoto Nairobi. She does not know. Somehow I end up in which hospital? Mama Lucy. Now tears have started flowing. And then now, something else about Mama Lucy maternity. When you enter, kuingia ni rahisi kutoka. So this is my horror story began. We arrived at around 6 p.m. Hakuna watu wengi kwa line. The maternity is very different from now. There are not very many people. This is 6 p.m. I got my scan by around 7. Something about Mama Lucy maternity that I noticed, I think it's being a journalist or being nosy. Between shift hiyo yenye inaisha 6 p.m. and around 9:30, 10ish, doctors are around, but you'll never find them in their station. So no one saw me, no one examined me between 6 p.m. when I arrived and around 10:30. After your 10:30, no one examined me. It's just that they just looked at me. And I remember that doctor was also, okay, for lack of a better, she's nice, but for a lack of a better word, she was a slay queen of some sort with her eyelashes and nails and stuff. And I remember her looking at me like, because she saw the results from RFH, and looking at me like, tutakubook huku? Because it's like I'm not supposed to be booked at Mama Lucy. You know, it's like, tutakubook huku? I'm like, okay, cool. Me being booked, I thought I was going to see the doctor at that time. Do you know, I saw the next time I was called for anything was 5 a.m. And that's when they started inducing us. So there's a small tablet that is supposed to induce, and that small tablet is broken into 4 pieces, and you're supposed to take tops 8. But by the second dose, you're supposed to have dilated. And I remember other ladies were given, you take it after 2 hours. It's kama kapiriton, but kamevunjwa mara 4. So you're supposed to take ako kapis kadogo kenye kamevunjwa in every 2 hours. So the other ladies we were given together. By the time we were taking the second dose, they had dilated, wameenda. Mimi nilimaliza hiyo dose hiyo siku. Like, see, if I'm given at 5 a.m. kumaanisha nitamaliza like at 3 in p.m. So now it's headed to 24 hours, yeah? Hiyo dose nilimaliza. And now remember the following day is a different doctor. So even this doctor came, this was a very nice doctor. I think he was called Dr. Thiambo or something. A Luo doctor, really. By the way, let me just say my experience with Luo doctors is good. So the doctor even would come personally to check on me. Tuko wengi, but he's personally checking on me. Did he change it then? So yes, I'm given a different kind of induction medication. Now, sasa kama hata mtoto alingekuwa bado anaweza fufuliwa. So at this point, there's no hope. And I remember when I was waiting those 4 hours, when I had arrived, I wanted to go. Nikamwambia, Now my mom is telling me, by this time my mom is telling me, hata kama tungejua saa zile ulikuwa unataka kwenda, afadhali tungekwenda ama ungekaa tuko hiyo yenye nilikataa nilikutoa, because she's the one who got me out of her refuge. So here there's another one that was put in water, also 8 doses. I'm supposed to take it after 2 hours. Everybody else who got that one got dilated. Before they could take the 3rd dose, they were dilated, they went, they did the thing, and they were now free. Me, almost 36 hours now we are going in. This is day 3. The doctor comes, checks me out, nini. Now, ikakuwa sasa, now it's becoming now a serious case. Now I've even started changing. My skin has started changing, yeah? Because of I think now the baby is, his state is not good. So the blood in my body is not even good. Even my face is changing now, yeah? I've become very dark. And okay, for lack of any other knowledge, tunasikianga wa Afrika eti saa zingine kama kitu imekufa damu ikikuwa black, your skin turns, yeah? Because I don't know. So my skin is turning really, really dark. I stayed, I think, almost 4 days with different kinds of dilations and different doctors, because it's a public hospital, they keep changing. So there's a doctor that came earlier on, ordered a few medications, because they have now a senior doctors who do not do anything. They do not treat you. They look at your file, they say what they're supposed to say. And I think the thing that all the doctors liked about me is the fact that I was able to express myself nicely, and I would understand their medical terms and whatever. So whichever doctor that comes, I would need. So this doctor examined me and ordered a few other tests. You've heard of that thing, they check whether you've dilated. That thing is, is not pretty. Now it's 4 days of enduring the checkup for dilating. Different doctors. 4 days. Day and night. Literally, because I would go in depending on the hours that they put for me. There's usually, they would write for me an hour thing. 4 days of enduring that thing. I had stayed there so much. Everybody knew me. I had done so much. So there's a doctor that came on the 4th day in the afternoon, and I thought they were together in the company of now the doctor that I had become friends with, Dr. Lawrence, and I thought they were just checking, because that thing is painful, the dilation, how they check, hiyo kupima kama nje imefunguka, for lack of better words. Yeah? That thing used to make me cry, used to make me scream. You know, I used to scream, people would think that, oh, now she's delivering. No. So it was sort of that. So I remember telling them, please get this thing out of me now. It's day 4. Please have me get a CS. Please do anything. Because I asked, where can't I get a CS? I kept on asking. They said, it's procedure, government hospital, nini nini, nini nini. So I don't know what that doctor did, but I remember I was in so much pain. Niliweza kufunga tu macho hivi kidogo, and I saw him holding a stem cell. I don't know where that one it went, because I was in so much pain already. Kidogo kidogo, I see the water breaking. The water broke, and they put me. Remember the medications that they would give me earlier on, the first tablet. They gave me a whole one, a full one. And then I don't know what else they inserted inside, because they had said they wanted to give me a catheter bath. That was the initial decision, but it's not what they gave me. So me, I don't even know what this is. After that, it was about lunchtime. I have finished screaming. My mom comes. I go, I eat lunch. But now I start feeling now the pain that I hadn't been feeling, which is the labor pains. So finally, I took myself to the labor ward. Let me just go. And I found another Dr. Odhiambo. There were 2 Dr. Odhiambos. This one was very irritable. And I understand, because I actually understand the doctors at Mama Lucy. I know they've had stories, because you go through so many attitudes from so many people, and you're alone, and you have, by the time he's seeing me, he has seen a lot of people. I don't know whether we understand that he had seen a lot of people, so he was a bit rude to me, and he kept on saying, ngoja nikupanguzie nikuonyeshe mahali utalala. And I said, okay, but it's so painful, doctor. He's like, mbona unaniongelesha hivyo? I'm like, but I haven't said anything. I just said it's so painful. Please help me. I was trying to climb on that bed, and it almost fell apart. So I almost fell, and he yelled at me. I'm like, but I don't know. He's talking to me, but I can't hear him because I'm in pain. So at some point, I just decided to just keep quiet. I'm not talking to this doctor anymore, because I can see he's just under some other pressure, and he does not understand my pain. So I almost now delivered on the floor, but now he made a bed for me, and I went on the bed, and he told me, do not push. Another doctor came, the one that induced me first, said, if you want to push, if you feel like pushing, do this. I was in so much pain, Apple. I don't know what they were doing. They were preparing to come and attend to me, yes. But it took so long that, you know that thing where, I even saw that on this channel. This guy was explaining when his near-death experience, how he felt something coming from his feet, going all the way up and leaving his body and seeing himself from tops. That happened to me. I remember when I laid on that bed and it couldn't come out and I was still in pain, I said, God, just take me now. if you're not getting this thing out of me, just let me die now. And before I could finish that prayer, I felt something coming from my feet, going all the way up, going all the way from my body, and I could actually see, because I was very aware of my environment, but I was unconscious. I could actually see myself from above for some split seconds. And then somehow I came back and then went again. Now the second time it wasn't so much. And the only people that I've ever had that can explain that thing very well was the guy who was here, who told that story, and King Kaka when he was getting healed. So after that experience is when now I would feel the baby coming out. And he didn't come out also easily. You know how ukienda kwa fundi wa kushona nguo au mafundi wa nguo wanakatanga material kidogo alafu wanairaru hivi and it makes that sound of when the baby was coming out, I was feeling that in my body, that kind of pain. Remember, the pain of labor is different and the pain of tearing skin is different. So the baby finally came out. The doctor came and helped me. I was alone at first, nini. But now I could feel another kind of pain. And when I checked like this from the bed I was laying on, I would see blood, a lot of blood dripping. Remember the doctor who was very rude to me, he told me, now, utanipatia tu ruhusa nikuoshe. I'm like, but it's so painful, daktari. I have tried. Remember, he was very rude to me. He said, ata mimi nimeona umejaribu. After that, after I finished removing what he was removing, he came. I would see other doctors, like 2-3 different doctors coming, checking. Says, oh, my legs are still like this. They come check, have conversations, come check, have conversations. So apparently, they said, hii huwezi shonewa hapa mam, utapelekwa theater. So I'm like, oh, so I'm just having, because everybody else is having their stitches done in the labor ward. So I mean, I'm just thinking, okay, I don't know what it is, but theater sounds like a deal. Nikapatiwa the big sindanos they put on your back, like unadungwa on one side and then you feel it on this side. It's like unadungwa kwa mgongo on your left and then you'll feel it on your right leg, and then this side on your back, and then you feel it on the other side. So I felt that, and they told me lay down quickly before you become numb. So I became numb and I laid there. And then I finished, they take me to another room to rest. And yeah, this is another horrible experience, especially when you are alone, yeah? You know, in that bed of surgery, one of my hands is this side and one of my hands is like, I'm like a crucified Victoria. It's like, but now laying down, and then my legs uko chini. I can't even feel them, but I know they are hanging. And I have machines. I can hear machines. I can hear one machine over this side and another one over this side, and I have needles with me. It's a whole horrible. Like this hand had so many scars of needles that when I came out of hospital, it looked normal. Mimi mwenye sidungangi sindano. It looked normal now because I had so many. I remember even tearing up in that surgical room. Just knowing that I had just had a son, but he has gone. That alone just would tear me apart. But I wouldn't cry, I wouldn't do anything. I was numb, my emotions were numb. So I stayed there for the rest of the day until I was okay. And then by the end of that day, I was walking with my own legs. And the only thing that I couldn't is just sit upright. But everything else was okay. So apparently, what had happened that caused me to go to theater is that I had a cervical tear. I knew myself, I knew I wouldn't dilate that much. So when I was asking for a CS, I knew what I was saying. I knew this thing will not open. So it opened by force. when you come from all those experiences, especially from the hospital, your mental state is usually, you don't even know who you are. For the first time in my life, I had tears here. You know, I could summon my tears anytime I wanted. Especially after now, the last time I went to the mortuary to tell my son goodbye, and I found a very evil mortuary attendant who literally dismantled my son's head. And I saw him, and that was the last picture I'll ever have of my son with a dismantled head. And this guy really insulting me over what I am seeing, he's also insulting me. But all of that, when I arrived at home, I don't know why, when I was in hospital, I was still sleeping very well. When it's time to sleep, I would sleep. But when I arrived home, I wouldn't sleep for, not only would I not sleep, I wouldn't enter my room. And when I did enter my room, I would enter when there's no one else in the house, lock the door of my room and cry. And I would look at the clothes that I had bought for my son and cry. That was immediately after losing, after that. Because actually I crossed over the year in hospital. So this is, I'm coming from hospital in January. So the whole of January and February, even when I'm going back for checkups, I still have these familiar sounds of trauma and smells, everything that I had gotten used to at the time I was in the hospital. I was still used to them even when I was going for the back and forth. But when later on, when I healed, I realized if I enter Mama Lucy or try to even go to the mortuary, like my heart, like my whole body cannot. After I have healed now, I can't even go to Mama Lucy. But at that time, I don't know where the courage to even go to the mortuary was coming from. Mortuary is a scary place. So I've had episodes where if I am alone in the house, everything is dark. And in the beginning, when I would find myself in the dark, when let's say we have a blackout, I will be so uneasy. I will be shaking. I'll be crying. I'll be locked up in a corner as if something is attacking me. I would go into a mental state, and then especially because baby daddy was still promising to come, and I wouldn't say he's a bad person, he's just caught up, but some of the things he was doing in his own innocence or ignorance or arrogance or whatever it is, the reason he was going through, he was doing what he was doing, those things would just take me to a state of darkness. I do not know how to explain this darkness. I have seen myself in my room with something else other than myself, and it's not visible, and that something is telling you maybe you should kill yourself because life is not making sense. And it's true, because it's not making sense. It's like when I look at it, even when I was in that state, I was actually very afraid of going to insanity or a state where I would do something to hang myself, to harm myself. But I still had a voice of sense. But that state, you can't even pray because you don't even understand. It's like there's a wave inside that room. It's like, you see how much this room has a lot of light? But when I'm in that state, even these big lights that are on me, the spotlights, they become dark. It's like if I'm staring at something, the entire room becomes dark and I'm hearing voices. So basically I had counseling, and the things that were making it worse now is when I started having confrontations with now family members who want to show me, oh yeah, you've lost your kid, and they're coming around with their kids or doing things to just, because I would even detest the voice of children crying. And now not only am I disturbed by the voices of children crying, but there are family members who are not only making their children deliberately cry in my presence, but they are saying things and they are recruiting other people to come and make me get into this dark place. And they do not know what I am going through behind the scenes, because me being of my person or my structure, even with my political ambitions, and also there's a way I have structured myself. Like I've told you, even my social medias are very clean. Yeah, even when my child died, I think the extended family knew about a week later. And even when people were coming to visit me, it was only specific people I had. Now they don't even know the details of my cervical tear, surgery, you know, the traumas of my depression. And they are doing all of these things just to make my life unbearable. So I would find myself sometimes getting very angry with, I would have very short temper, and I would find myself slapping one or two individuals that was that would never see what they have done wrong. So this person had made my life very hard in retrospect from that day henceforth. And it got to the point where now the family is kicking me out of our family house, our family home, or rather, and separating me from my mother, when my mother also still really needs me a lot, because I still serve my mother in her condition and her old age. Yeah? And what hurt me the most was not even the actions or what they would call, is the people that I looked up to, like the auntie I told you about. That person is support, in as much as we've had a very rough relationship, yeah, is somebody I look up to. Is somebody that would always say, or I would always assume that if my mom is not there, there would be the next mom. Is somebody whose children have been raised by my mom, not all, both of them. Is somebody who my mom would go, because now my cousin at some point got into drugs and alcohol. My mom would go to all extents to just make sure that my cousin is safe and sound. Like one time in South Africa, my cousin, because she was an alcoholic, yeah? One time in South Africa, she got into a bar, started talking too much, got into the wrong crowd, and this was in a period where South Africa was experiencing xenophobia. And my mom, in her condition and her old, went from bar to bar looking for my cousin. But now I am going through all of these things, and my auntie, who holds the power to say who stays and who goes, would listen to everybody else and not me. That thing, every time I'm in her presence, I'm usually breaking down and crying. Remember, I don't cry in front of people and I don't cry easily. But every time I'm in her presence, I break down every time she speaks, and she thinks I'm breaking down because I am depressed, but I'm actually breaking down because I feel betrayed. I feel let down. I feel as if you're the person that I was looking up to and now you're not there for me. The person I am, the free spirit I am, somehow I get a lot of friends who are kids. In every area that I've ever lived in, all the kids know me, and I know all the kids, even though the parents and I do not know each other. One of those kids is a young man called JB. He's an actor, a very budding actor. He's coming up. I have trained him on TV presentation, and very soon he will be on TV. He's been picked to host a show. So things like those give me peace. Training kids and having fun with kids and trying to tap into the nature of who these kids are, especially the kids who are probably like me as a child, you know, who are very rough around the edges or are free-spirited or are misunderstood. Those are the kind of kids when I look at, I see either talent or I see other gifts, either spiritual or physical talents that other people may not understand easily. Yeah, like the kids who are probably the loudest. Those are kids who become something else later in life, you get. So working with kids and starting this a calling of just training kids in, I actually train kids in either that acting or TV presentation thing, and then there is etiquette, and then there is emotional intelligence. Yeah, that has given me a lot of peace and I release very well. You know the thing they say that if you wake up every morning, God is not done with you yet? That is actually true. When you wake up every day in the morning, God is not done with you yet. So I think also in a program like this, Moments of Justice, I think around 2020, I had seen a story of a South African lady who was saying about how she went through the same kind of story that I have gone through. Her child died, the baby daddy rejected her, family rejected her, and they didn't even show up for the funeral. And by the end of that year, she was winning awards. If in the middle of depression, she had given up, whatever impact she was making at the end of that year, she wouldn't have made. Even me, who is in this situation, I can remember that story from years ago. If she had given up or even gotten herself into self-harm or any other destructive behavior, she wouldn't have given me the inspiration to even be strong right now. Yeah. So even my hope is that these things do happen to different people. It will probably happen to you next time. Yeah. Or you'll be in a position to help somebody else. So my aim is that if somebody can learn something, a thing or two from this, I'll be glad. And then something else I learned after my son's death is, in life, being alive is not certain. Being alive is not certain. But one thing is certain though, death. I never saw it like that. Death is you can't avoid it. It will come. And also the way people say life is short, I have begun to see the shortness of life in a very different way. So in this timeline that we are in, what makes us different? If we can pour out completely the godliness, the talents, the wisdom that we have, and leave it in the world, because it's not even for us. Like once I learned that I am a guest in the world and I am leaving, it's like now I come, now I go. This period of in between, if people understood how short it was, there wouldn't even be war. So the only thing that makes a difference is the difference that we make. So if you want to make the difference of evil, you will find evil. You do so. Because even the people that we read about right now that did great things in the past, it was just their great things in the past. And in their death right now, they are not enjoying their great things in the past. God does not make mistakes in his decisions, in whatever that is that you're going through. Yeah. So if you call on him, he hears. Yeah. And the gifts of God do not come with repentance. So no matter what you're going through, each day he has a planned purpose for your life, and just knowing that your life is not yours only. My afflictions are not mine, but they are the things that God have put in my heart so that I can bless someone else. So if you can just take that out of yourself and bless somebody else. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in here on Shared Moments with Justus. Remember, you can support any of these women whose stories we continue to share by sponsoring their therapy sessions at Psychics, a trusted partner in mental well-being, offering tailored services for individuals and corporates alike. Let's provide a safe and compassionate space for everyone to process their experiences, address their trauma, and even develop coping mechanisms to navigate the challenges of life. I hope to see you again next time on the next episode, but until then, visit psychics.io today and start your journey towards a healthier, more fulfilling life.